Welcome back, guys, to the second part of this Flutter course. So in this tutorial, we are going to start off with building a complete onboarding screen that's totally different from this one, except that they're going to look similar. So I'm not going to go back explaining what is basic of Flutter or what is Flutter. If you want to know more about that, you can see the link in the description that will take you to the first part of this video that will show you about the installation. And we talked a little bit about Flutter, then we actually built this onboarding screen from that first video. So in the last part, I gave you a text that you add the font family to these two texts. And in this tutorial, we are still going to see how we can actually add a font family. So before you proceed, do make sure you hit that like button and also the subscribe button. So right now we are done creating our application. So the only thing I can do right now is to just go ahead and start creating our application without wasting much of our time, because we've already seen how we can start a new app. Like I said, if you're interested in that, you can see it on the description. You can just click on that and you can watch that part of the tutorial. So I'm just going to clear everything here and also clear everything here. So don't forget as well to clear every other thing here. So you can just add a text of simple text. So when we save that and run this application, it's going to automatically run the application faster for us. So in the previous tutorial, we also showed you how you can actually use custom fonts and also bring images to your application. So these are the images that we are still going to use in this tutorial, except that we are going to be using the GL2 image. In the first part of the tutorial, we're actually using this gl.png. So let's just allow that to quickly load. So whenever you run your debugger, just quickly grab this up. You can see your debug console there. It's going to compile the application and install it on your emulator ASAP without wasting much of our time. So let's just allow that to quickly load. And what we can actually do right now is to get rid of everything here. So we can get rid of everything here. So without much delays, come into your lib folder and create a folder called, and inside that screens folder, we can create onboarding2 file .dat. So that's what we are just going to create. And you can see that text, that simple text we put over there is actually showing. So for inside this onboarding2 that file, we can just import quickly. So just go ahead and quickly import. I think I misspelled this, so make sure you spell things correctly. So put that. So here we can just say package flutter /material.dat. So here we can put down the name of the class. So the class can be any name you want to name it, but let's stick to onboarding2. And it's going to extend to stateless widgets. And we'll override the build widgets to access the context. And there we can now add whatever we want to add over here. So we can just return a simple text, but it's not actually nice to return a simple text. You can just return a scaffold and body. Then we can return a column because we want everything to be on a vertical axis, which is going to have children. So make sure you cover things, or close things properly. Then inside this, we are going to have a text. So let's say onboarding2. And we can just go ahead and save that and come into our main.dat file. So instead of us to have this text over here, we can just go ahead and call that function. So we have onboarding2 function, our class. So let's just go ahead and save that. You could see we have that onboarding2 text over there. So it's kind of looking awkward because it's above, it's together with the status bar. So for us to fix that, it's also very simple. Instead of us to have this column, we can just, and inside that safe area, we can now bring down the child. So the child will now contain the column as well. And then we can now put the children, which is as many widgets you want to put. So let's say onboarding2 once more. So when we save and check back, you could see that properly spaced things out for us from the save area. So let's just go ahead and start our designing without wasting much of our time. And the first one we are going to have is a container. So this container is going to have a padding with a cost of edge insets. So we want from left, top, right, and bottom of 24.4, sorry, this second one is 42.0, 24.4, and also 42.0. Then we are going to have a child with a row of main. First of all, let's just go ahead and add the children. So here we are going to have an image. So we are going to be accessing image from our asset folder. Like I say, we are going to be using the access image /girl2. Sorry, this happens to be the back, not girl2 right now. So we have the back icon or the back image. Then we are going to have a text of skip. So when we save this, it's going to be joined together, and we want to space that out. Then we can just use main axis alignment with the main axis alignment widget dot space between. So if you're familiar with CSS, you could see it just looks similar to that. So like I said in the last part, I told you guys to actually use a font family on a text style. So let's just go ahead and do that. We can have a text style font family of Lato. So when we save that, you could see that font family just applied immediately without wasting much of our time. So we are done with the first part or the upper part of that. And secondly, we are going to have another container. Then here we are going to have a margin with a const edge inset of only. So it's similar to top, right, bottom, or left, but when we use only, we are making reference to just some specific dimensions or specific directions that we want our margin or padding to be. So of course we are using margin, not padding actually. So we have 20.0, right, same thing, and also top of 34.0. Then we are going to have a constraint. So with the help of constraints, we actually give it a fixed height or a fixed width. So we have box constraint dot expand. We are going to use the height, which is 350.0. In the last tutorial, we actually used 300, but for this one, let's use 350. And with a width of medial query dot of context. So because we are actually using this class from another file, that's why we are actually using this medial query context dot size of width 0.65, which is 65%. And then we can give it a decoration, and inside the decoration, we've already seen how we can use, first of all, bring in what is called box decoration. So inside our box decoration, we can now have the image, then we have the decoration image. So let me just forget the one in our clipboard and let's stick to typing it down. Then we have the image, which is going to be coming from access image. So this is another way of accessing image, like I said. Then lastly, we have to use the fit. So it's kind of not properly closed. So we have the comma over there. And here we have the fit to be box fit dot cover. So it's kind of not looking nice, and that should be inside that decoration image. So make sure you properly place things, or else you're still going to get an error. So inside the decoration image, we use the image and make sure it covers that box. So when we save, you can see we have the image right now showing perfectly without any errors. And the next one is we are so we want a margin of, let's just go ahead and grab this and paste that. So we have margin and all we just want is a top margin. We don't want a left or right. So we want a top of 40, and we are going to have a width. So for the width, I will just grab this line of code and put it down there. We just want 60% of that width. Then we have a child, because it's going to contain a button. You could say rounded. We have rounded rectangular button. So this is kind of thing that makes Flutter a rectangular button. You have to make sure you bring in the raised button. Then inside our raised button, you can give it a shape of rounded. So we have rounded rectangle border, and then we can give it a border radius of border radius dot circular, and then we can specify the number we want to give it, which is 18.0. So that's how we can actually use something like that. But because we don't yet have an unpressed, we are still going to fix that immediately. So for the unpressed, you just can say unpressed. You can just give it a normal function or an arrow function to get rid of that error. Then we have the width to be let's copy this width over here. We don't necessarily have to give it a width because we already have width for the container. Let's just go ahead and give it a padding of edge insets the only top of 15.0 and also a bottom of 15.0. So let's save that. It's kind of looking more like a button, but we don't yet have a text. Then I can give it a text color of colors.white. Then for the child itself, which is going to contain the text, you can give it a text of get my plan, and give it a style. First of all, let's give this to up. And then we can give it a text style of font size of 14.0. So it's kind of looking font size. Oh, sorry guys, this is a font size, not a font family. So let's save that and see. You could see we have that button over there, but we don't yet have a background color. So to give it a background color, you could just simply say color is colors.red, and it's going to give it a background color. So I'm not going to touch about colors from hex. If you watch the first part of this video, you could see how we use the colors from hex, or you can check in the GitHub repository to see how we can actually use hex values to apply background color or text colors to our Flutter application. So for now, let's just go ahead and make sure we complete our tutorial. The next thing we are supposed to add is the sign up button. But before that, we have to add one more thing at the top of this button. So before this container over here, we are going to have another container. So make sure you properly close things. And this container is going to have a margin, and we can just grab a margin and put it up. And we just want a margin of 20. We also want a media query of 60. Then for the child, we are going to use a child of fitted box. So we have a fit of box fit.fit height. Then we have a child of text. So you can add whatever you want to whatever you wish to add here. So we could say forget diet, and then we can add a style. which is going to be a text style. So inside that text style, we can now add a font size of 38.0, and it's going to show that fitted box over there. So you could see our forget about strict diets and also get my plan. And one more last thing we have to add is the sign in button or the sign up button. So beneath this container over here, you can add another container, and pretty much what we did here, we just have to just grab this. So you put down a margin with a top of 20, and then in the child we are just going to have a simple text with a sign. We are just going to have a simple text with a sign in, and then we have a style of text style. So we are going to have a color of let's say colors.blue. Then we have a font size of 18.0, and lastly we have a font family of Leto. So this is just a very simple basic application, not meant to be more professional or in a professionalism way, but just to show you how you can actually use Flutter to design a simple free application just for a quick start. But as time goes on, we are still going to go into more complex things in Flutter. So do not forget to hit that like button and also that subscribe button. So one more thing remaining right now is for us to use. We are still going to touch about the stateful widget. We've already seen a lot of stateless widgets. Like this text is an example of a stateless widget which renders only once and it's not dynamic. You can't just change it except you are passing it through a stateful widget. So we are just going to see how we can actually use a stateful widget, and that will be it for this tutorial. And right now let's go ahead and do